Hello everyone, welcome back to another Crispy Flicks review. We've had a little break, it would seem, but we're back with an absolute banger of a movie. If you're new here, we do movie reviews, TV reviews. If that's your thing, give us a subscribe, cheeky comment, maybe a little like. We would much appreciated. In this review, we are going to be talking about a masterpiece in horror, if I've ever seen one, Jacob.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it is The Haunting of Borley Rectory. Now, do you just want to talk about what this movie's supposed to be about?
Borley Rectory is like one of the most historically haunted buildings in the UK. And the shit that came out of this place was ridiculous. Like, there was writing on the walls from like supposed ghosts. There was multiple sightings of like headless figures and like dead soldiers just wandering around the place. So many things over so many years happened to create this whole mythos around the rectory itself, and this film really should have written itself. Just based off of all of the history of the rectory.
Definitely. Yeah.
And it could have been one of the best horror films, or a sleeper hit at least, of that year. Instead, we got this. You know?
There's so much wrong with it. To me, it just seems like... So this movie came out a year after the Conjuring Nun movie. And it just seemed like they saw, oh, that movie made a lot of money. It was shit, but it made a lot of money. So why don't we just hop on the bandwagon with a Nun movie, you know? And we'll include the rectory, since it's already a household name, and just fucking chuck it all at us in one big mess of a movie.
Yeah, so should we get into the start of the movie, like just how it starts alone?
It starts off with a flashback of the main character. He's called Robert. He's in the army. And he's injured, which is why he gets stationed where he gets stationed in this movie. And it says 1944, so it sets the scene for it being during the Second World War, right? And that's fine, not a problem with that. And then it cuts to the next scene. It says the same year for some reason, like we couldn't connect the two.
Yeah.
It gives us two separate dates, but the dates are the same, so it kind of just feels like, what's the point in telling us?
Exactly, yeah.
It's
so
stupid.
After this whole sequence of like Robert getting injured in the war, it then cuts forward to follow Mr. Price and Miss Forrester at the rectory itself. And before there's any dialogue from any of the characters, Miss Forrester is like, there's like a cut to her in the future of the movie screaming. And this is all starting to feel really jarring now, right?
Yeah,
this is starting to feel like
we're only 5 minutes in.
Yeah, and it's like you're never sure what's going on. You're never sure of what the time or the place is. And then when Mr. Price and Miss Forrester meet up at the rectory and the dialogue begins, then we start to see the problem.
Well, not for long.
The Reverend?
He's very poorly, confined to his room.
I'm sorry to hear this. I must visit.
These characters, they don't talk like people.
No.
They sound like if you programmed AI to watch films and then write a film script itself, it would write something like this, because it's I'm not joking. It is some of the most wooden dialogue I've ever heard in my life, and all the characters outline how they feel. It doesn't let you experience things organically, you know.
Yeah.
It's like it breaks like that whole the number one rule in movies, right? Show, don't tell.
Yeah.
And they immediately tell you how they're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
In great detail.
You don't realise what Borley Rectory has done to me. It almost killed me. It has weakened me. I don't have long myself.
Thing is, as well, right? What I noticed is that, you know, sometimes in movies, right? Yes, they have a script to work off, but the actors will generally add a bit of their own spice, their own flair, their own signature style of acting. And I noticed that in this, they are just literally reading everything word for word with no real emotion or anything, because that's what the script says and that's what they have to do. But there's no like improv moments that are like, oh, that's pretty neat. It's all just word for word script reading, and it's really boring. And the acting's not great either, to be honest with you.
I just want to say, just between the dialogue of these two characters in the opening scene, right? There's so many cuts. It's like cut after cut after cut after cut. It's like it's disorientating to watch. It's not a comfortable experience watching it. It's not because it's scary, as a horror film should be. It's because the camera work is ass. Which
is fantastic if you want to go into a film and in the first 5 minutes you can point out every single flaw in basic filmmaking. You're in for a treat. It's out of focus. The dialogue is just like robotic. The acting's not great, and there's far too many jump cuts here and there. It's just all a mess.
So after this bloated, drawn out, monotonous scene.
It goes on for far too long as well. It's boring. It's boring, man.
So after this, we're finally put out of our misery. And we'll get the best scene of the film out of the way, shall we? The opening title sequence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I liked it.
It looked good.
Yeah, it was like plain white with like the blood effects on it.
Looked really cool.
Also, it was kind of surprising to see the opening title sequence so far into this movie.
Yeah, because so we have like this long drawn out scene and then it's opening credits. It's like, surely you should have that at the start of the movie, not after the opening scene. That's why they're opening credits. It's to show people who's in the movie, what the movie is, and what they can expect.
It comes in like 10 to 15 minutes too late.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the best part of the movie out of the way, and then we're introduced to the man in the flashback. O'Neill. He is an American soldier that is being stationed in a town kind of near the rectory.
Yeah.
And he's on a classified mission.
Top secret. That's really important.
Top secret.
You'll see later on how top secret this mission really is.
Yeah, he's just about these next few scenes are really just him being, moving into this little residence near the rectory itself, and we meet one of the worst characters in cinema.
I am Edward Gibson, the gamekeeper around here.
You own the land?
Heavens, no. For now, the land is effectively untended. It was requisitioned by the army in 1940. It's been used for training and such.
I see.
The cottage is further up the path here. If you like, we can go up together.
I'll tell you something. As soon as he started speaking, he's like, the rectory was commandeered in this day by us and on this day. It's like, what?
Who talks like this?
He speaks like a CBeebies TV show host.
Yeah,
that's all I could really get from him.
I have down here in my notes that he looks like a pouty pantomime villain crossed with a child.
Yeah, he does.
That's how he acts.
Yeah, and thing is though, they like try to write him to be this like quirky kind of he's a bit quirky and spooky and mysterious, but it comes off as cringy. It just comes off as cringy and shit. He
comes across as like a stroppy kid, and he's meant to be the landlord of a cottage.
Yeah. And not only that, acting aside, which is obviously terrible, but the lighting in this movie. In this scene, you are introduced to how terribly lit and colour graded this movie is. It's got some weird green tint over it, and like the actors, the actors really, really pale, but the greens and yellows are really vibrant. It's uncomfortable. I mean, it's clear that they didn't have the amount of money to get like studio lights or anything like that. So I thought, or what I could see was it was natural lighting throughout the whole movie. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there's movies like The Witch and The Lighthouse that really do natural lighting really well. You know, they have like a candle here, and they have like the odd like sunlight there, and they manage to make it contribute to how the movie feels. You know, you feel all dark and gloomy, but with this movie, it's just lit horribly. You know, the highlights are too light, the shadows are too dark. It doesn't complement the movie at all.
Yeah, so we follow them up to the cottage where O'Neill's going to be staying, and we get into the camera work of this movie, just the masterclass camera work of it.
Oh my
so they'll
God.
do like a normal tracking shot for when the characters are kind of moving and walking along, but then the characters stop to do a little bit of dialogue, and then there's just a shaky cam shot, just standing still. Shaky cam shots are used to like establish tension, like, you know, if somebody's like peering out of bushes and stuff like that. But these guys are just talking normally.
Yeah, I believe the nun in this movie was chasing someone. Get a shaky cam shot in there. Oh, it's spooky. But they're just talking about the cottage and why he's been stationed here. And the reason why he's been stationed here is because his leg's fucked. But we will soon come to see that his leg magically gets better. And then it gets worse. And then it gets better again. And then it gets worse. Because he's walking with like a walking stick and he's limping really bad. But then when he goes inside to the where he's staying, he walks up the stairs not using the walking stick. And it's like, well, how bad is this guy's leg? It kind of just seems like it's there when it's convenient to the plot, you know? And,
I mean, you could just have him not be crippled.
Yeah, and just have him here because he's good at translating, which is supposedly why he's here, because he's fluent in German or whatever. But not only this though, it's such a needless thing to include. You'd have thought that if his leg was bad, right? Say the nun is coming after him, he'd fall over and go, "Oh shit, my leg! Oh god, I can't move. It's too painful." But he's never put into that position, which makes me think, well, why have his leg crippled in the first place?
It doesn't contribute to anything.
If you're not going to use it, why include it? Because you've included it, and then you retcon it like 10 minutes in when he's walking up the stairs completely fine.
Also, you know, he starts translating at this, on this little radio thing, and he's listening to the frequencies, and it gets, we get like an impression that he's got a bad history with alcohol. You know, he reaches for this whiskey bottle and his hand's shaking, right? This isn't like a Leaving Las Vegas kind of alcoholic, right? Portrayal. You know, it's not a masterclass portrayal of an alcoholic. He just reaches for it, right? And then his little hand's shaking kind of lacklusterly, right? And then, he puts it down right next to him. You know, if you're an alcoholic, you're not going to have a bottle of whiskey right in front of you, are you?
No, and especially if you've come to this, a secluded house. You know, this would be the best place to not drink. Really, this would be the best place to put yourself into some sort of rehab. So why bring it? And the fact of him being an alcoholic is again like the leg. It's not important in the story. It just seems to be thrown in there to give the character a bit more depth. But you don't give a shit about the character because 10 minutes in, like I said, they retcon the whole leg thing. So it's like, oh well, they'll probably retcon the alcohol thing too. But prior to this scene, he is walking to the rectory, and there is an unnecessarily long shot of him opening a gate, walking through the gate, closing the gate, locking the gate, and then walking away from the gate. I'll play the clip in its entirety here so you can just understand how needless and unnecessary it really was. They could have just have it cut to the rectory, and he's there. We don't need to see him walking. and especially when it's not when it's really, really long and drawn out. And then this is, we were talking about this earlier, man. If you want to go over the first sighting of this nun,
Okay, so we're going to the rectory, right? And the rectory itself, if you look at, just to give you a bit of context, the rectory, historically, was this huge, massive, sprawling building, right? Yeah. Absolutely gargantuan in size. And then we see it in the movie, and it looks like a slightly dilapidated warehouse in Essex.
Yeah.
And in this crappy, just awful location, right, is the first time we see the nun. So we get a shot of O'Neill, and he's walking around the rectory, and he walks off camera, and then the camera's still focused on this little set of bushes, and the nun just pops out of the bushes as if she was squatting there,
having a shit or something. I don't know.
Just like lurking there, and it's
just not scary either.
No, it's funny, if anything.
Yeah, because
it catches you off guard.
It's just a normal person dressed up in a fancy dress costume. It seems like, and it's like, how long had that demon nun be squatting down, waiting for someone to walk past?
Yeah, she was just waiting there for anyone, just so she could just pop out the bushes.
I understand that this movie is like low budget, but it comes across, it's trying to be like a serious like Hollywood movie, and when you've got such shitty costumes, it's laughable. This movie takes itself too seriously, and with the shitty nun costume, it's so funny. Like, it just pops up, it's like, oh, hello everyone, I'm here. And then we have the first of many, many very tedious flashback sequences. And I know you want to rip into these because they just get so boring after the first two. We don't need this many. Go on.
I lost count of how many there actually were in this film, and almost none of them contribute something to the plot. It's just the same flashback, the same sequence the film opens on, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Played over and over and over again. And then only towards the end of the film does it start adding like tiny little details into these scenes. But you never really... You're supposed to get the impression that this flashback is like a defining moment in Robert O'Neill's life, right?
Yeah, like this is why his leg's fucked and he gets injured.
Yeah, and you're supposed to care, and you're supposed to be emotionally invested. But because you don't give two shits about Robert O'Neill himself, and he's a two-dimensional protagonist, right? You don't get invested in these flashbacks either, so they just become monotonous. And the filmmakers themselves were obviously really proud of this flashback sequence because they include them so many times. Like anytime you see Robert go to sleep in this film, flashback.
I mean, even when you don't see him go to sleep, there is a flashback, and then he's awake, and then he wakes up, and it's like, oh, I guess he was sleeping again. That Robert, always sleeping on the job.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, the flashback happens, and then obviously he's sleeping, and then we get a really scary bit, man, of the nun's hand crawling up to him, up the table. It looks so bad. The hand is not spooky. It's just a normal hand painted in fake blood and dirt. It looks like it's meant to be scary and like suspenseful because the music's like, you know, it's got like the strings like, meh, but it's just not scary at all. Maximum effort for minimum reward, as I like to say. And then we meet Laura.
Fruit basket girl,
yeah. I noticed also the second time watching this, the first line that she does, she fucks up right away.
Go on.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
Jesus. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
No. But it's almost like they took 2 takes of her saying this one line and then jammed them both into the final cut. It's so unnatural, and it's like right off the bat, you know, she's a new character. Right, let's see who this person is. She's fucked up her lines. Brilliant, awesome. I don't know why they included both takes into the final cut. Why not just include one of them? I don't know. It just makes the whole conversation seem unnatural.
Getting more into Laura's character, right? I don't really get what she's supposed to be. We're led to believe that she's supposed to be the love interest in this film.
Yeah.
But she isn't.
No, she's got a fiance.
Yeah, if anything, Miss Forrester at the right at the beginning is more of a love interest. And aside from being told that she's scared of the rectory,
yeah,
she doesn't do much in this film.
And yeah, and not only that, but we're told that she's supposed to be really scared, but she never shows this. Like in this first, when she meets Robert for the first time, and they're talking, the only bit of fear that we see is a brief glimpse over to the cottage, and then Robert's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yes."
You okay?
Yes.
But if she was really that terrified, when she's walking up, we'd see her like, being a bit like jittery. But it's just a brief glimpse to the left, and then the audience is meant to be on her side, like, oh, she's really scared.
Greatest female protagonist in any horror film.
Oh yes, fucking Toni Collette in Hereditary. Step aside, please. It's Laura the fruit basket girl that's terrified of the cottage.
Oh yeah, we should probably give context as to why we're calling her the fruit basket girl.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Go on. Go on then.
Yeah, because she pulls up to the cottage to give like Robert some supplies, and she's just got a ton of oranges in this oversized basket, and it's like, yeah, he's definitely going to live off that for a few days, isn't he? There's no like actual food in there, it's just like a bunch of oranges.
And then there's this one line that I didn't really get. They shake hands and he's like, oh, that's a firm handshake, and then she goes, it's the war. What?
It's a firm handshake.
It's the war.
What does that even mean?
Like, I get that it's supposed to be like the war has strengthened her, but it just comes out so wrong.
And then there's another dream sequence that doesn't make any sense.
Fantastic.
It just seems like they're in there to try and make the film scary. It's just a bunch of like convoluted, like it's just like a convoluted montage of spooky scenes that don't actually matter to the story. This guy just sleeps. He just sleeps all day.
We got to bring up the part of like the movie where it's just, well, the multiple parts of the movie where he just seemingly teleports in his sleep.
Oh yeah. He just falls asleep in one place and wakes up in a separate place. I mean, he just kind of wakes up. Oh, he wakes up in a field. Oh, he's working at his desk. He wakes up on the sofa. Oh, he's outside. Dream sequence. He wakes up in his bed. It's like we never see him go to sleep. We always see him waking up.
Yeah.
And thing is, it isn't even like he's sitting on the couch and he wakes up on the couch. That'd make sense. We don't need to see him drift off. But from cutting to like an outdoors scene to then seeing him wake up at night time in his bed, it's so messy and it confused me. I was like, well, was any of that just happened real? Because we never see him go back to the house. Do you know what I'm trying? Do you get me?
Yeah, I think that you're constantly questioning whether or not the events of the film are real, but it's not in a good way.
It isn't like Inception, where it's like, is this a dream inside a dream inside a dream? It's just like, oh, was that just a shitty dream?
Yeah.
Or wasn't it? Because
and that's funnily enough, that's what this whole movie feels like, a shitty dream.
And then we've got the return of Justin from Justin's house.
He's really called Mr. Gibson, we should say.
Yeah, but I'm calling him Justin from Justin's house, or fucking
the guy from Tikkabilla.
Yeah, Tikkabilla. There we go. And this whole sequence is just boring. Again, it goes on for too long. Again, he doesn't talk like a real human, and he just comes across as cringeworthy and just fucking really he's just annoying. But the one thing I want to take away from this scene is you've got So you've got two options here that you want to look at. You can either look at out of focus shots of Robert, right, or extremely close up, uncomfortable shots of Justin from Justin's house. I don't know which one I'd rather look at, but the extreme close-ups are so horrible. It isn't even done in like a cinematic way. It's just he's just his face, like his eyes, nose, and mouth. His chin's cut off, the top of his head's cut off, and then he cuts back to Robert, and he's out of focus. It's just a mess.
It fails at the fundamentals of camera work.
It fails at the fundamentals of camera work throughout the whole movie, but this just is just a taster, because it does actually just it gets worse, right? And this whole conversation is, why is Laurie so scared of this cottage? Is she? I didn't get that from her body language or from her acting. The conversation that Laura and Robert had, she was completely fine throughout, and then, like I said, a brief glimpse, and it's like, why is she so scared? And then fucking there's this line that Justin from Justin's house says that really made me cringe. He's like, I don't like to indulge in the fantasy.
Because I don't like indulging fantasy.
And he says it in a really weird way. And he says it again. It's so uncomfortable. I don't know why. I don't know. Like, does he talk like this in real life, or like was the director like, right, talk like this throughout the entire movie? People are gonna love it. No, we don't. It's horrible.
Yeah, and he says it like a stroppy kid as well.
This next shot that comes up next is actually pretty good. He's working at his desk, and it slowly pans in through the outside, and it's lit nicely. It's framed really nicely. It's just a shame that this camera work can't be consistent throughout. It's almost like they save one really good shot for one certain scene, but why not put this effort into every single shot? It might have at least been a nice movie to look at. Content wise, it still would have been shit, but it would have been a nice movie to watch, kind of, you know?
And funnily enough, all the good shots in this film that I picked up on were all at his desk. Yeah, all the best shots in this are just him sat at his desk.
Working, not moving, yeah.
Yeah, and if that's where your best shots are, of this stationary guy working at a desk, right? Then you're definitely doing something wrong.
Yeah, definitely. So it pans in, and then, jump scare from the nun. So scary, not really. It's bad. Yes. The nun just looks shit. I mean, The Conjuring Nun, the movie was bad, but at least the nun looked terrifying. You know, if I saw The Conjuring Nun in the corner of my room, I would shit my bed, right? If I saw this nun, I'd laugh, because it looks so bad. And it then leads into another flashback with the woman from the start. Just thrown in there because, they're connected somehow. How are they connected? Dunno, mate. They just are. Don't worry about it. Don't ask questions. And it's, again, a drawn out scene, and then he wakes up on his sofa. He teleports from his desk chair onto the sofa.
Magically.
Yeah, and then Laura wakes him up, and this is just a recurring problem. Like we said earlier, how he just teleports from place to place. He goes to sleep in one place, or he doesn't go to sleep. You know, there's just a dream sequence, and then he's in a different place, and it's so messy.
It's disorientating because you're constantly trying to keep track of him, and these shitty fever dreams that he keeps on having. The movie just devolves into just being nonsensical, and it becomes really difficult to follow what's going on.
Definitely, yeah.
Like, it would seem really simple, but then the film just gets more and more convoluted.
I mean, it's such a simple concept to be able to do a dream sequence. You know, you film him in one place, like a sofa. You have a dream sequence. He wakes up on the sofa. You don't show him walking about a field, then insert a dream sequence and he wakes up in his bed. It doesn't make any sense.
This is probably a good time to bring up something pretty funny, by the way.
Oh, go on then. Let's hear it.
Out of all my research of the Borley Rectory, guess what there isn't spotted in the hauntings?
Oh,
There's no nun.
You tell. Yeah, well, exactly. That is proof. Like, I watched this, right, and it's just so obvious. It's just an attempt of a nun cash grab movie. Because even on the poster, the nun is front and centre. But like you said, there's no nun. It's just a nun movie because the other nun movie was so successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Historically, you know, they had headless soldiers. They had tons of crap written on the walls by spectres and ghosts and stuff. Really scary shit. But there was never a nun.
No. I mean, but hey, like I said earlier, don't worry about it, man. After that dream sequence, Laura wakes him up and they have a chat outside, and yet again, she's out of focus. It's focused on her hair rather than her face. But at one point, she moves back, and she is in focus because she's moved back to the point where her hair was.
Oh.
So the camera's focused. Yeah, so she's doing the camera's job for them. She's like, oh, I'm not in focus. I'll move back for you, maybe. And this is where we really find out how seriously Robert takes his work. His classified work. She asks him what he's doing here, and he's like, oh, I can't. It's classified. And then she's like, are you a spy? And then he's like, fine, I'll tell you. You've met this woman for 5 minutes yesterday, and she's come again, and you've told her top secret classified US Army intel. Are you fucking stupid?
Those must have been some decent oranges she gave him.
Oh, them oranges, man. I'll tell you anything. You bring me some more of them oranges.